This is the Tammi Reiss Show on the Rhody Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's show is brought to you by People's Credit Union, the official partner of URI Women's Athletics. Pizza Gourmet, Rhode Island's wood-grilled pizza crust, is a proud sponsor of URI Athletics. Dunkin' Donuts, sip the Rhody way. Rhode Island Medical Imaging, the official medical imaging company of URI Athletics. Newport Propane, Rhode Island's #1 choice for all your propane needs. Ortho Rhode Island, the official orthopedic and sports medicine provider for URI Athletics. Dave's Fresh Marketplace, better food, better service. Now, here's your host, Zach Austin.
Welcome to the Tammi Reiss Coaches Show, presented by the Mews Tavern. We're live on the Rhody Sports Network from Learfield. Another packed house at the Mews. It doesn't get much better than this. Thanks to everyone who came out and tuned into the show tonight. Of course, we got the coach, Tammi Reiss, with us to top things off. And how about the win on Saturday? Big win, big second half against LaSalle. 33 points in the third quarter, but more importantly, $1,500+ to the Play for K Foundation. You made a pledge of $100 per three-point, makes 7 three-pointers, so that's $700, and Rhody Nation came through with the rest. So thanks to everyone, of course, who donated. But to start the show, obviously, how does it feel getting that win and now kind of turning the page towards that last stretch of the regular season? You know, it just was an excellent, first of all, excellent second half. I think we came out a little bit nervous, a little bit tight. You know, senior night always scares me a little bit because as a player, you put some pressure on yourself to play. You want to play your best in front of, you know, your fans, your family. And so I thought we were a little tight, you know, didn't share the ball like we should, played great defense, but didn't click offensively. And then they made the adjustment. They calmed down. They took a deep breath, and then, boy, they exploded that second half. So just really nice to watch them play some great offensive basketball, and always nice on Senior Day. You know, I was really, really happy for our big three, for Sophie Phillips, Hawa, and Honey to, you know, go out with a bang. The team came through with them and really just get a win on Senior Day. That's always the goal. And also the Play for K Day. It was a really, really packed day. Not only did we have those two things going on, we had the men's game after. So it was a lot prep work and preparation going into the game, but always great with a win. How we did it was even better. And then the celebration, post-celebration for the seniors after the game was excellent. And all these people were at the celebration and really giving the three seniors their flowers as they deserve. Yeah, no question about it. Again, a great win, and we'll talk more about it in a second. We do want to give a few quick thanks. People's Credit Union, as always, want to thank them. They're the official partner of URI Women's Athletics. Speaking of, by the way, URI Women's Lacrosse, first ever game. They got the win today. Also want to thank Newport Propane, Rhode Island's #1 choice for all your propane needs. Family owned and operated since 1959. Newport Propane will treat you like part of the family. Visit them at newportpropane.com. You mentioned a little bit of offense there, talking about the win, again, the slow start, and then really turning it on in the third quarter. That was the highest point total that your group has had since the second game in conference play against St. Bonaventure. And I wanted to ask about your offense because the previous 5 games have been a little quieter offensively, under 60 points the previous 5. The 5 before that, you were able to get 60 and over. What have you seen change from your offense going from that point all the way through that last game against LaSalle, coming off a game against George Mason, which you had the least amount of points all year? I think, you know, we talked about it and watched a little film after George Mason. Really, we weren't playing with pace. We weren't sharing the ball. We weren't being great teammates and how we set screens, how we get each other open. And our team offensively, we've got to click on all cylinders to really put 65 points and above on the board. It's not like we're ultra talented offensively where, you know, you score 75 in your sleep. We really have to do the little things to get the results we want. So that second half at LaSalle, it was really nice to see because we did all those little things. I brought up in film today, you know, watching Awa set the screen she set for Honey and getting Honey open, or for Sophie P, or for, you know, Sophie V coming down on quicks. Awa got back to being just the best teammate. But again, it takes everyone for us to function. All 5, we've got to be a fist, and we can't
We can't be like this. And so that second half, that was the difference, how we played. We had 2 assists in the first half. We had 10 assists in the second half. Also sharing the ball, getting off the ball and sharing the ball, and that was the difference. And when we play like that, obviously you have to make shots. But when you take really good open shots and not forced shots, you'll score 65 and above. So that second half, that explosion, it was the unselfishness of the team. We didn't run anything special. We didn't make any adjustments. It was they did what they needed to do to get each other the basketball in the right spot for great shots.
No doubt about it. And, obviously it seems like when this team is on their game, when they really get things going, they're so tough to stop. And that's exactly what we saw in the LaSalle game. Also wanted to mention, too, rebounding is something that we know this team does well. Biggest rebound margin of the season as well. 21 more rebounds than LaSalle did overall in the game. I think it was 10-3 offensively, something like that. Another great day on the glass. But you talked a lot about Awa and her role on the team. She was one of the 3 seniors that was honored back on Saturday. And you've talked about this before, but her working her way up from a true redshirt freshman all the way to where she is now, where she can put up double-doubles. She's a true contributor for this offense. How much does that mean to you to see her growth from year 1 to now?
As a coach, that's what you want, to watch players grow from their freshman to sophomore to junior to senior. That's player development. That's what we call player development. So you'll see some programs where their players come in and they graduate the same exact player as when they leave. And so when we look at some of our players when they first came in, Maya Torre, Sophie Phillips, Awa Kamara, MP Foposi, Emmanuel Tahan, you start to look at them as freshmen. Some of them didn't get on the court but a few minutes. And by the time they're seniors, that is what, as a coach, you're most proud of. And I have to give kudos to my assistant coaches because, as a head coach, you don't get to always get on the court with them and do skill development. You're off fundraising and doing this. But our assistant coaches spend hours and hours every day in the gym with our players to give them that player development and grow them from when they're a freshman to when they're a senior. And that's what, as coaches, you're most proud of. So when I watch Sophie Phillips' 4-year development and Awa's 4-year development, most people, when they first saw Awa, they're like, oh, man, Awa can't make a layup. How is she going to get – she can't shoot. She can't – everything was she can't do this and she can't do that. And now she gets on the court. Now, like you said, she's had double-doubles, multiple double-doubles. She's a force to be reckoned with. And that's just putting the time in the gym with your coaches, just you and them, where none of the fans see the hard work that goes behind the scenes. You see the end result in the game, but that just doesn't magically happen. That's strength and conditioning. That's player development. And our kids do – they do a great job, and so do our assistant coaches. They do a hell of a job with them.
By the way, on the point of you and your staff, 107th win, that was the win on Saturday. It puts you second all-time in program history. Obviously, so much credit goes to your assistants as well. But quickly, what does that mean to you to hit that mark?
It's the reason I stayed at Rhode Island. It's the reason, some of Agni stayed for a while is – you want to come to a place, and I've never really been a ladder climber. I like to be a builder and to kind of leave a legacy. It's why I stayed at Virginia for 4 years as a player. It's why I came here. And I don't want to leave. I don't want to quit. I don't want to retire until we do exactly what we said we were going to do here at URI. And so to exceed the 100 wins, that's great. And, I'm not big on personal accomplishments, but I came here to win. I came here for, us to put a great product, win championships, get to the postseason. It's something that's eating me up alive right now is I want to get to the NCAAs and I want to win a game. And those are our goals. And so as long as we're winning and we're putting a great product out and we're accomplishing another A-10 championship, another postseason, that's why I came to Rhode Island. That's why I stayed. So it's a great accomplishment. That's our players, and that's my assistant coaches. It takes a village, and that's also our fans that packed the Ryan Center and got us a couple close wins when we needed them, and they came through, especially the year of 22-23 when we needed some home wins, and they packed the Ryan Center for us and got us those wins we need. People don't think that's important. It means the world to our players. They want to play in front of people. And so that's our whole Rhody Nation, all of us. That's our 107th win together.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And even in the time since I've been covering the team, to see where it was in terms of the Ryan Center environment to where it is now, it's night and day. It's absolutely incredible, and so much credit goes to Rhody Nation for making that happen. You touched on the 4 years, as a player you stayed, and you also talked about Sophie Phillips is with us tonight, and she'll be on the show later on. Obviously, so much progress since her freshman year, just 8 games played, handful of minutes, where she is now the all-time leading three-point shooter in program history and the third most ever at Rhode Island, among other things, closing in on 1,000 points. But even more importantly, staying for a full 4 years, and this kind of shocked me when I really looked at this. I believe she's the first player to come from America who stayed all 4 years under you. What does that mean, to be able to stay in one place and really see her growth from year 1 to year 4?
Well, when we were recruiting Soph, it was during COVID, and so it was a weird recruiting period. Her whole class just was really tough during the COVID year, and I had seen Soph for years when I was at Syracuse. I watched her and her sister for years, and I always respected her game and loved her game. And so when I got here, it was a no-brainer to go after her. And we recruited Soph really heavily and wanted her. She was our top recruit behind the class behind Dolly, Karen's class. And so when Soph came in, again, we recruited her family. So when we got to know them, Dad's a coach. They both work in the school system. The way they raise their daughters, their character, their morality, their value system, it was a no-brainer. I knew Soph was the kind of kid that commits and she goes after things. She doesn't run away from things. She doesn't quit. The freshman year, and this is a credit to who she is, who her family is, even though she wasn't playing a lot of minutes, never complained once. Not once. I never got a phone call from her parents. Not once. I never got asked for a meeting. It was, she'd be in the gym the next day with Coach Schoenecker working on her game. She went home that summer, and she said in our exit meeting, Coach, I'm going to work. You'll see. I remember her father saying the same thing. And when she came back from her freshman to sophomore year, it was like a different player. And the competition that happened in practice every day between her and Dolly was like a heavyweight fight. And Soph just earned everything she got. She never begged for it. She didn't think she was entitled for it. And again, when we recruit, we go after certain types of kids. And so I couldn't be any prouder of what she's become. And it's been all her. And it's the way she was raised. And, those 4 years, she got better every year. And, I truly mean this. If I had a chance to pick a daughter, it would be her. It would be her and her sister. And her parents are absolutely incredible. So the first one to come through for 4 years, Sophie Phillips will forever have cemented her legacy with Rhody Nation in our record books. But more importantly, with me, she's the one player that I have the ultimate respect for. And coming from a coach, and our coaching staff does as well, one thing as a player you always want. The accolades are one thing. I always wanted this as a player from our fans and my coaching staff, was they respect me. And she has the ultimate respect from our coaching staff, period.
And the icing on the cake is that she's excelled in the classroom, too, graduated in 3 years from her undergrad, one of 5 players to ever make the A10 All-Academic team. Truly, a professional at the college level and one of the better players ever in program history. Looking forward to talking with Sophie later on the show, of course, as well. And I did want to ask you, obviously, second game of the year, you got to see the Phillips twins play each other, a game that feels like it was in the works for so long. Talk about that cool opportunity, obviously not going the way you wanted on the scoreboard, but still having the opportunity to play that game.
It was so very important and we worked for years to get this game. Albany did not make it easy, but we finally got the game. And win, lose, or draw, that was a game that had to happen for the family in general. Again, there's such an incredible family that to have all their family and friends in high school and everyone to be able to be at the game and watch them compete on the same court, even though they couldn't play together in college, you had to make that happen. And so it was just a really, really cool experience to watch watch them go head to head and in front of all their loved ones. And that was something that we were going to make happen no matter how hard we had to go through or what hoops we had to jump through. But again, yeah, I think Sophie would have wanted to play better. I think we would have wanted to win. But in the end, and again, this was for their family. This was for two young women that deserved that, right? And got to play in front of all their loved ones. It was a pretty special occasion.
Absolutely. It speaks volumes to the program you've built and the culture you built to make that such a priority. I don't think that would be the case everywhere. So great opportunity to see the Phillips family come together for such a great occasion. Kind of to keep on the theme of Senior Day, Honey Carr, her parents got to watch her for the first time ever in the United States on Senior Day, and she more than played well enough for the occasion. Talk about what that all meant to her and just her performance back on Saturday.
To be honest, she was the one I was most worried about because Honey gets very emotional, and I know she wanted to play so well for her parents. And again, imagine your parents have never seen you play. In the States, and they come. So the pressure, I think, that she felt, I was a little worried she was going to really try to do too much and get out of character. First half, she got a little crazy. But once she settled down, it was a beautiful thing to watch her have such a good game in front of her family. And it meant the world. I don't think her mother stopped crying from the time the game started to when, she would come to me. Every time I went to have a conversation with her, she would start crying. So I know what it meant to them. And women in India just don't get the same opportunities. So, she just was blown away by our fans, by the whole atmosphere, and by, I think, our young women student athletes, what role they take here in America. She had never seen them get to be on the big stage and get to have the same opportunities as men. And so it was pretty incredible to watch, them take it all in and soak it all in. So I was so happy for Honey and her family.
Yeah, absolutely. Great performance and a great moment for Honey and for really the whole team and for everybody watching. Also, last point on Senior Day, Dre and Wolf practice players were also honored before the game. Obviously, they do so much work behind the scenes that maybe Rhody Nation doesn't get to see so much of. Talk about what they've brought to the program.
Our managers and our practice players, we have so many people that make things go for us behind the scenes. And we again, you'll see two managers here, Corey and Kelly. Sophie's the three amigos over here. What the managers do for us is they set the gym up every morning. They, help us on the road. They do the bus. They do everything. They do all the grunt work. They get the luggage off the bus. They just take care of our kids. And then our practice players, they prepare us to play every game. They run scout team. They don't get the same, they're not on full scholarship. They don't get preferential treatment with classes. They really dedicate their time. And Dre and Wolf have been with us for 3 years. And every morning when we had to practice at 6 a.m., they'd be up. And, they got classes to go to, but they just give us everything they have. And then, obviously, the scout team, they prep us for every game. And Dre and Wolf are just incredible players. And, again, everyone that's a part of our program is a part of our family. So when we honor our seniors, we honor everyone that's a part of our program. And Dre and Wolf have contributed tremendously over the last 3 years. So it was nice to see them get their flowers because not everyone gets to recognize that and understand what they do for us and how valuable they are.
Yeah, fully deserved, and they've gotten to go on a road a few times and even help for some of those road games. The dedication is unmatched, and you could tell in that second half and in the third quarter, especially against LaSalle, the preparation pays off all around. It may have been one of the best individual quarters we've seen all year, certainly offensively. 11 for 13 shooting, 5 of 6 from 3, perfect from the free throw line, 6 of 6. And that's what the hard work and practice, that's what the dedication, that's what it leads to when all the pieces are moving in the right direction.
Yes.
Wanted to talk about a few other points as well. Heading forward, obviously you look at the next stretch of your schedule, St. Joe's being the next game on Wednesday. But then looking past that, a couple teams you've already faced this year in UMass and St. Louis, all very familiar opponents to you. Finishing your schedule on a stretch like that where you kind of know what the other team brings, how much does that help heading towards March?
Seeing UMass and St. Louis again, it helps tremendously because your kids already have a feel. You as a coach know, but the kids really have a feel for players, personnel, scout. That helps a lot, especially in preparation. We can give the kids extra days off. You don't have to use multiple days to prep. But we've got a really, really tough stretch coming up. St. Joe's is no joke. They are very, very physical. They're senior-laden. They got a big 3. They almost beat Richmond the other night. So thank God we have them at home, but it's a tough game. And then right off that, we're seeing another UMass team that's playing at an all-time high. Really, really good basketball right now. They took George Mason, had it to the wire in the fourth quarter, and then kind of let the game get out of hand. But so these 2 next games are going to be a juggernaut. So, and again, we take it one game at a time. We prepped for St. Joe's today, but we're really going to have to bring our A game and be able to match their physicality, be able to defend, and then you got to score with them. They're the best defensive team in the league. They hold people under 58 points a game. Best defensive 3-point percentage. They hold people under 28%. So defensively, they're a juggernaut as well. Good rebounding team, and so it's going to be a battle this Wednesday. So really, really excited for it, though, and really, really excited to get them at home. And every time we meet them, it's a great game. So, we're prepping for St. Joe's, not looking too far ahead right now, and it's one game at a time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, that game Wednesday, 6:35 p.m. tip from the Ryan Center, an absolute fortress in conference play. Haven't dropped one yet against A-10 foes, hoping to keep that the case on Wednesday evening. Looking over our shoulder, we had Duke and North Carolina on the screen right now. And obviously we know that not only do you watch the other A-10 games, you watch everything with women's basketball. I've been meaning to ask you for a while, what do you think about Unrivaled, especially being a 3x3 coach? What have you seen from that league that you've liked?
Well, Unrivaled is so different than 3x3. It's a full court game. It's not 12 seconds. It's not, fast. I'm not a big fan of it. Like, I watch it because I'm a fan of the players. But the concept of the game, it's a lot of one-on-one. It almost reminds me of the NBA. It's like watching back and forth just take people off the bounce. It's almost like we could roll the ball out on the courts in the playground and do the same thing. And so the other day they had a one-on-one tournament. So it's a little gimmicky. It's almost like the NBA All-Star game this past weekend. I mean, I didn't turn one thing on the NBA All-Star game because it's not basketball anymore. I don't know what that game is, but that's not basketball. And so for me, I enjoy the game of basketball. So I love the WNBA. I'll watch, college women and men before I watch Unrivaled. I just support the league because it's women owned, and I'll watch certain players, but it just doesn't grab my attention like college 5-on-5 or again, and I'm a bigger college fan than I am WNBA or NBA. I love college basketball because I love the essence of playing for the name on your jersey and not the name on the back of your jersey. So I watched the SNL 50th over the NBA the other night. That's what was on my TV for the 3 hours.
You weren't the only one. I will say, I don't think anyone on this team would sit out an all-star game just because of a little bit of pain in their foot. I'll say that. Taking entertainment value completely out of it, just in a hypothetical situation, if you had to pick 2 players from your team to have a one-on-one like the Unrivaled one-on-one, who would you pick?
Probably the 2 point guards to go head-to-head because in practice, especially in preseason, they just get after each other. So Sophie V and Inez, and they fight. Like it's brutal, back and forth, and they play extremely fast. So they could play full court one-on-one and just take each other nonstop to the cup. So I'd have to say head-to-head, I'd go Inez versus Sophia.
That would be so fun to watch. And, hey, when you have 2 top 10 point guards in the conference, why not? I think that would be a lot of fun to watch. Staying on the note of 3x3, something I recall you mentioning way back towards the beginning of the year and maybe earlier is that you kind of wanted to implement some of 3x3 in the sense that the players can kind of operate on their own. They can kind of coach themselves in some ways. And this is a younger team, but have you kind of seen that independence grow as time's gone on? Have you seen kind of that influence reach your team, or is that still maybe a work in progress?
It at times I've seen really, really good things with it. But again, certain players need a little bit more structure than other players. So we haven't found that. We're not a motion team yet. So motion is a lot of freedom in basketball. But, we put some things in today where, you've got to make a couple reads and do some things out of the horns action. So it's some things we implemented in 3x3, a lot of, pass, flares, ball screen, things of that nature. But, we're still a work in progress when it comes to giving certain players all the freedom to make decisions. And you've got to understand that as a coach. Some years you'll have that, and other years you've got to give a little bit more structure or you'll turn the ball over 25 times. And so this year happens to be a little bit more structure. There's still some players that playoff instincts. Sophia Vitale is one of them. You got to give her a little bit of freedom to make some decisions. Our point guards have a little bit more freedom, but someone like Honey, if you open it up, it's too much for her, too fast. And so you've got to pick and choose who gets the freedom to make those decisions. But there's certain kids that have earned that right, Sophie Phillips being one of them, that can make some reads, that can do some certain things. And there's other players that don't have that. So it's a mix right now.
Yeah, I got to say, with the group that you've got, especially the younger players, sticking the 4-year plan, if they're around in a few seasons, I think it'll end up being a lot of fun to watch later on. Of course, you don't want to think that far ahead. You want to think towards Wednesday in St. Joe's. Again, 6:35 p.m. tip-off Wednesday at the Ryan Center. It's the place to be. The men are off this week, so no excuses, certainly. By the way, both the men and the women winning the doubleheader on Saturday. Hoping for another win Wednesday. Coach, the floor is yours. Any last words ahead of the game against St. Joe's?
No, again, I want to thank everyone that's come out tonight and everyone who came out to the game and the post-senior reception. It just means the world to our players, and I truly want you all to feel like you're a part of our team. So when we have special events, you're all welcome to it, and really get to know our girls. It means the world to them. Not every program has that, and we have great fans here. And again, it's why I love being here, and it's why a lot of our kids come here and they're shocked. I will say this: Honey said to me, I can't believe the fans here. I can't believe the relationship and the things that they do for us, and they make us feel like family. And for a lot of our kids that come from overseas, they just don't have that family here. And it's the one thing I think that differentiates Rhody from a lot of other places. We have some great fans. So thank you again. Thank you so much for your support.
And thanks for being here tonight. Another packed house at the Mews. It doesn't get much better than this. Coach, thanks as always. It's always so fun talking with you on these coaches shows and getting to really get into the nitty-gritty of this team, because they are really so fun to watch. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to have Sophie Phillips on when we come back. One of the better players in program history has made her mark this year. We'll talk to her when we come back. This is the Tammi Reiss Coaches Show, powered by the Mews Tavern. We're back here for the Tammi Reiss Coaches Show, powered by the Mews Tavern. We're live on the Rhody Sports Network from Learfield. And again, thanks to George McAuliffe, thanks to the Mews Tavern, and thanks for everyone for being here as well. Another great crowd, as it seems like we always do. Also want to thank the Pizza Gourmet, Rhode Island's wood-grilled pizza crust, who are a proud sponsor of URI Athletics. Order online today at woodgrilledcrusts.com. That's woodgrilledcrusts.com. Also, thanks to everyone who's listening on the Rhody Sports Network. And, one of the staples at the Mews Tavern is their pizza. And I know last time we spoke on the show, you really wanted to try that Chicago deep dish pizza. I don't know if you've had the pizza here, but where would you say the Chicago-style pizza stacks up compared to the pizza maybe closer to home?
Well, Mews is like one of the best places around here, and it's like one of my favorite restaurants here. So I'm definitely sure that their pizza is like top notch. But yeah, Chicago deep dish is by far my favorite pizza ever. So probably just a step down from that, I would say. But
sounds like that might be
New York. Come on.
I'm sorry, the deep dish just has my heart.
Oh man, a little bit of controversy brewing to start the show, but you definitely try a slice of pizza. I will say, last time we had a show, there was a giant pizza right there in front of us, and I couldn't focus half the time. It was a lot. But you have no problem focusing, because you've had a great stretch this year and a great career. Before the start of the new year in the conference opener against St. Louis, you broke the three-point record. You're the first player in program history with over 200 three-point makes, and you're within arm's reach of 1,000 points. Going back to the record-breaking moment, is that something you think about in the game? I know it's in the back of your head throughout the year, but in that moment in the game, is that something you thought about, or did it just kind of just happen, and you're like, oh, wow, I got it?
I think I kind of set that goal for myself to get at that game, just because I think I needed maybe 3 or 4. So I obviously wanted to challenge myself a little bit, but also I think getting it at a home game was important to me, and my family was also there, a bunch of them, so that was super special and exciting, but I definitely could not have gotten that accomplishment without my teammates, without my coaches. It obviously takes like a lot of work behind the scenes, but it's true testament to like our coaching staff really for that to happen.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And some even more impressive numbers, not just women's basketball at Rhode Island, but men's and women's combined. Third most three-pointers ever. The only players with more three-point makes than you have, Jimmy Barron had 361, Tyson Wheeler had 302, and then you're next behind them. Really, really elite company to be a part of. And what impresses me the most is you've done this in such a short span of time. You hit the record halfway through this season, virtually 2.5 years. Obviously, didn't play a whole lot your freshman year, but, kind of working your way up, what does it mean, especially, given that you had to really earn your stripes getting into the lineup to get to where you are now?
It definitely means a lot. I kind of pride myself in just working hard and being able to even think about those accomplishments are just like, I don't know, just a dream come true, really. But I actually this summer was able to meet the Barron brothers. We were I was working out in the gym with a little girl I was training, and they came in for a workout in Keeney. So it was super cool to be able to meet them, and just kind of, we got a picture, which was super cool. And being able to kind of be like on a similar stage to them is a big deal, and I was super impressed with being able to meet both of them, so that was pretty special.
That's Rhody royalty right there. It doesn't get that much better than that. Obviously, getting pointers from them is pretty cool, but, when you broke the record, you mentioned how important your dad was to helping get you to this point, especially in terms of practicing shooting growing up, drawing the line in the drive walk. How important has your family been in terms of your dad, in getting you where you are now and being the shooter that you are now?
Yeah, he's played a huge role in that. My mom too. My dad, though, he would just always my mom as well. They would both drive me to the gym whenever I wanted to, shoot in the driveway with me. I was actually joking around at senior night at the banquet with Coach Jen. She was talking with my mom and me. For Christmas one year, I asked for like a whiteboard, and there was like a deck of coaching cards that I would like play around with my dad all the time, and we'd draw plays up. And it was funny. We brought it up to Coach Jen. We'd go to church on Sundays, and my dad and me would, even Lily sometimes too, we'd sit there like drawing plays up on the program to to go to practice the next day and see if it would work out for us in high school. So
when they say basketball is a religion to some people, they are not joking. It is true. It is true, and it's paid off as well, as we know. And the incredible thing to me, too, about your career here is that you haven't really missed any games, and you've been fighting through some injuries this year, but you've started 63 consecutive games, dating back to the very last game of your freshman year, 97 straight appearances. And no matter what the circumstances may be, you're never afraid to shoot the ball. You're always looking for that shot. Talk about being available, how important that is, and also just your mentality of always looking for the shot that you like.
I think my mentality is just obviously like I never want to miss a game. I never want to miss practice. I think the only time I've ever missed practice was my shins this summer. Really, I couldn't really do summer session that much. But I haven't missed a game, and I hope to keep it that way. I don't know. I never like to be on the sidelines, really. And I just want to do anything in my power for my team to be successful. So I think that is definitely a huge accomplishment and something like I've definitely tried to do throughout my whole 4 years here. And then just being able on the court just to do whatever my team needs me to do. And I know that one of my biggest assets is shooting. So being able to get my shot off in different ways is important. And being able to make them, obviously, is a huge key that our team needs me to do.
Yeah, and the thing this year, too, is you've really made your game so much more well-rounded. I broke down your shots. You have about a 60-40 split from threes to twos. For context, your sophomore year was closer to 70-30 or maybe even 80-20. You have 20 blocks this year, which is tied for your career best. You had 5 assists in a game against Dayton and 3 blocks in that game as well. How important is focusing on those other aspects of your game, Ben, as well in your time at Rhode Island? Obviously, you want to be the shooter that we know you've been, but also to bring those other aspects to the table as well.
I think it was important for me. I obviously want to become like the best well-rounded player I can be. And obviously after my sophomore year, I would say, like people started understanding like what my game was and that I just really wanted to shoot threes. So they were able to, kind of pick that up and guard me, a lot different than they would my sophomore year. So I kind of had to elevate in different aspects, and I've never always loved driving to the basket as much and getting, super physical and get, a lot of contact, but I think that's an area that I tried to focus on this year more, just to, it's obviously harder to guard when you can score at all 3 levels, which I've tried to improve. And then just on the defensive end, that also wasn't always my biggest role or big best quality, really. But I know that I have like a lot of length as a bigger guard, so being able to stay on the floor, obviously defense is a huge part of that. And that's another reason my coaches can trust me to stay on the floor is to play good defense and get stops and obviously bother people with my length. So I think being able to get better in all assets of my game has just obviously helped me become a lot better of a player.
Yeah, and I think it's the impact of the plays you make as well. You might not get 5 blocks in a game like Palmier does, but, the blocks you do get or the assists you make, I think, have that much more of a punch to it just because of their importance in the game. Something we talked about earlier, too, being the first American player, under Coach Reiss to go through the full years and to graduate. What does that mean to you and kind of being able to set an example for younger players on this team and future players to say, hey, I can do this at Rhode Island. I can go through the full 4 years and I can be the player that I want to be.
Yeah, it means a lot. I actually didn't realize that, so that was kind of crazy. But it does really mean a lot. I mean, that's why I came here. I didn't want to choose a school where I was just, going to leave after a few years. I wanted to stay somewhere for all 4 years. And to be able to play for Coach Reiss for all 4 years was extremely important to me because she recruited me for a reason. She believed in me as a player, and just getting to know her over the 4 years has been super special. And just having her believe in me, I think has been huge, and obviously the reason I've stayed, as well as the other coaches too. I know Coach Schoenecker had a huge impact on that as well, even though she obviously isn't here this year. But Coach A and even our new coaches this year, Coach Jen and Coach Jax, it's been great getting to know them. And I think they've also helped me expand my game in different ways, just getting, a different perspective than I've had for the last 3 years. But that is a crazy stat that I didn't know that I would ever accomplish or say that I'm the only American that has stayed here for all 4 years so far, but it is pretty cool.
It's interesting because when I was, getting ready for the show, I hadn't even realized that either. And I think it's just so incredible that this is the path you have in your career, and you've been able to make that leap at Rhode Island and done something that no one else has done in this last span of years. You've also been kind of a coach on the floor yourself. You've been a captain now for 2 seasons. You and Inez are back for your second year. I was a captain this year. Kind of talk about your leadership, kind of how you've evolved there as a captain, as a leader, and what you've seen from your teammates as well in those leadership roles.
I think I've definitely developed more into a leader the last 2 years. I've never been the most talkative and outgoing person, which I think my teammates have kind of brought me out of that shell a bit too, and my coaches. But I think this year especially, I've definitely had more confidence in that role and being able to say things to the team that need to be said. But I think Ines has grown in that role as well, and obviously Awa, even though she wasn't a captain last year, I think everyone really thought of her as a captain and respect her as a person and a player and anything she says. But I think there are other players on the team too that everyone respects, and they could obviously have that role just as much as we do, which I think is why we have such a good bond as teammates this year. We're all very close off the court, and I think that's kind of translated onto the court. And at the beginning of the year, I think we struggled a bit, but we're all very new. So I think because we've been so close and outgoing with each other off the court, I think it's kind of started to show through on the court, especially in conference. But I'm definitely super glad that I've been able to have the role as captain, especially with Ines for the past 2 years and with Alba this year. I think I have so much respect for both of them as people and players, so I couldn't be happier to have that role with them.
Yeah, it's like a family at Rhody, and that's been said so many times now. And kind of echoing Honey's point, who was on our last show, Dan Burt, the coach at Duquesne, came up to her and said, "You guys look like you enjoy playing with each other," and it's true. You do really enjoy playing with each other, and I think that's what makes this team so special. Speaking of family, obviously you had to play against your sister Lily at Albany earlier this year. It was funny. I saw the press conference clip, and I think one of the reporters asked Lily, would this make Thanksgiving dinner awkward? And she was like, well, Sophie's going to be in Cancun, so, it can't be awkward. We're not going to be together. But all that aside, whenever the next, big dinner would be, talk about, playing against your sister, a game that's been in the works for so long, and being able to share that moment.
It was so special, and I just, thank you, my coaches, for making that happen. It was just amazing to have all my family, friends, all in one place. My family does an incredible job of traveling to my games, especially home games. But they can't always come all at the same time into every single game together. So to be able to experience that in one place, especially basically a home game for me, it was really special because, I grew up going to Albany games. So it was awesome, and obviously it was the first time I played against Lily really in an actual game. We play against each other all the time, and in practices and over the summer working out. So it wasn't really anything different. But since we were on different actual teams, it kind of felt weird, I would say. But it was so special. Obviously not the way I would have hoped the game would go. I was definitely thinking about that game for so long, and Lily's just such a chill, relaxed person that she was just yeah, this is special, but I was no, we're gonna beat you guys, and obviously that didn't happen. So she does have that against me, for the rest of my life, but that's okay.
You got to try to get that extra year of eligibility, maybe get a rematch.
Right.
and just because it has to be asked, there was no switching going on. No switching. You were playing for Rhody in that game, and she was playing for Albany. Just a great moment as well, and it was so much fun to call that game. I wanted to touch on your work in the classroom as well, as we mentioned during the last segment. You're the 5th player in program history to be an all-academic selection in the A-10. You're the second under Coach Reiss. Manu Tahan was the other, and you could be the second ever player to do it twice. You were able to graduate early in 3 years. You're working on your second degree now. How important is your work in the classroom to being a student athlete?
It's extremely important. I think just trying to be the best version of myself in everything I do is super important to me. And being able to graduate in 3 years was obviously a goal I wanted to accomplish and didn't take lightly. I definitely tried to do everything in my power to be able to do that. And I'm trying to get my master's this year in a 1-year program. So super excited for that. But it's, I don't know, I think being able to be a student athlete and do all these things, I don't know, just having the opportunity It's extremely special, and I'm extremely grateful to even be in this position to accomplish any of this.
Yeah, absolutely incredible work. You do everything so quick. You get the 3-point record in less than 3 years. You graduate in 3 years. It's all just so easy. I wanted to ask you as well. You know, you and Awa are the longest tenured players on these teams, and you know, I always ask players for Coach A stories, but everyone always asks me before these shows, we want some Tammi stories, and you have more than about anybody. You have one story you can share. What would it be?
I would say, I mean, there's a bunch of stories I could say, to be honest. When we fly commercial, me and Coach Reiss are next to each other. We're playing buddies, so we always ride next to each other. But there was one story I remember from last year. She was trying to get me to play Truth or Dare on the plane. And that was pretty funny because I chose Dare, and I should not have. And she told me that I shouldn't have. Then she proceeded to yell on the plane, there's a bomb on the plane, there's a bomb on the plane. So I very much quickly turned to Truth after that. But I would say that was one of the funniest stories I have of Coach Reiss, even though we've sat next to each other every commercial flight this year too.
Noted. Don't play Truth or Dare with Tammi Reiss. Okay, got it. You know, another thing that someone wanted me to ask you tonight was about music, your music taste. You know, they say music says a lot about a person. I believe you're very big into country, so just talk about who your favorite artist is for a second.
Yeah, country music is my favorite type of music. My friend, like my teammates were actually quizzing me the other day on like pop culture and telling me to name all of these different Drake songs and Rihanna, and I was very much struggling to do that because I literally only ever listen to country music. But I would say my favorite artist, top 3 would be like Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, maybe like Jason Aldean, I would say. But I have a bunch of favorite artists, and that's like what I do most of the time over the summer. I go to country concerts, so...
There you go. If anyone had Sophie on Team Country, congratulations. You were 100% right on that. Milan is here tonight at the Mews Tavern. Shout out to Milan. He had a question for you. He wanted to know, I always like to ask about future goals, but he worded it in a way that I thought was really cool. He wanted to know what your 5-year plan was and then your 10-year plan. I know that's a lot to think about. You're still thinking about this year. I know you got those whiteboards and your markers handy somewhere. You know, maybe that's involved. But you know, if you had to put something together now, what would that look like?
I guess I would say I've been thinking about going overseas to play professionally after college. I think it would be a really cool opportunity and a cool experience to be able to do. And then after that, I've thought about maybe getting into coaching. I don't know. I've always kind of, like, obviously, as Zach has mentioned, my dad grew up coaching me, and I've just been around the game for, obviously, my whole life. And I can't really imagine not being around the game after I'm done playing. So I think that would be super fun. And I just enjoy, since playing in college, just, like, the scouting side and, like, the recruiting part of it. I think that's just super cool. And obviously getting to be around, like, great Division I athletes and kind of just, I don't know, help them with their goals and make them better players, really. I think that's super special, and I would love to try it out, really.
I know wherever you decide to go, you're playing-wise, coaching-wise, whatever else there may be out there, I'm sure you'll excel at it as you've done everything so far here at Rhode Island, no doubt about it. You know, being a player who stayed here for 4 years, you know, at one school, you know, what advice would you leave to maybe some of the younger players on this team, maybe, you know, players getting to the college level, you know, this year, next year, trying to find their home, trying to, you know, see what their journey looks like, you know, will they stay, will they go? You know, what advice would you give based on your experience at Rhode Island and in your career?
I would say, obviously, choose a school that's has the culture that you're looking for, and some place where you can stay for 4 years and call that place like your family and your home, really, because I can definitely 100% say that about Rhode Island. And obviously sometimes like the grass isn't always greener, you know, if you leave. And I think with the transfer portal, it kind of makes things crazy and people make crazy decisions. And I think just being able to pick a school where you can stay for all 4 years is definitely special, and not that many people are doing it anymore. But yeah, I think also building the relationship with your coaches is super important as well.
Yeah, 100%, and that's a huge part of it. This thought just came across my mind. You know, if you end up going professional and Lily goes professional, there's always that chance you guys could play again. You might get the rubber match. Right. I think there's got to be a GoFundMe or something if that ever happens to get everybody to wherever this game may be. Recreate that game earlier this year. That would be amazing. As we're heading towards the end of the show here, we're talking with Sophie Phillips, who, as I'm sure you all know by now, the 3-point leader in program history, well over 200 makes, third most ever, on your way to 1,000 points, among so many other accomplishments in your career. You know, obviously looking ahead to St. Joe's, you know, what are you excited about this last stretch of the season, heading to March, and then, you know, the floor is yours after that. Any final words that you have?
I'm extremely excited. Obviously we have St. Joe's on Wednesday, who Coach obviously mentioned, like, they're just such a good team. Every single year it comes down to the wire. Like, I think it's come down to like the last few minutes of every single game, except maybe like the A-10 tournament game last year when we played them. But they really do feel like our rivals in conference besides UMass, and they're just always so fun to play against, honestly. So I'm super excited for that game. And just the rest of the season, obviously super excited just to finish out my senior season, and hopefully we can make some noise in the tournament. That'll be super exciting. And but yeah, I think I really do believe in this team, and I think that we're really starting to put it together, and we're believing in each other. We're playing for each other, which I think is super special. And it's just really fun to come to practice every day and be around them and the coaches. And I think that's just been the best part. Like, I think for the rest of the season, just having as much fun as we can has really obviously gotten us to where we are and gotten us to become successful in conference so far. So I'm looking forward to finishing strong with that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you know a thing or two about big shots against St. Joe's in your career. Real quick, last question, you know, maybe it's that moment, maybe it's something else on or off the court. You know, in your time at Rhode Island, what would you say your favorite memory being a Ram is?
That's a hard one. I feel like my favorite memory is obviously winning the regular season title my sophomore year. That was super huge, super special. Being able to accomplish it with that team. Besides that, I would say probably my game winner against St. Joe's. That was one of a very special moment, and super fun. The atmosphere was just crazy, and it was just so fun celebrating that win with my team, and it was definitely a big win for us. So I would say that both of those, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, I got to say, that team, that moment was so magical, and it feels like the team this year is capable of something similar. Great conversation. Thanks for coming on the show, Sophie. This is always so much fun, and you've certainly left a legacy at Rhode Island that few others have, and we've all been so happy to watch you over the years, and so happy to have you at Rhode Island.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you to everyone who came out to the Mews tonight. Another excellent, excellent crowd. Thanks to everyone who's been listening on the Rhody Sports Network as well. A few other thank yous. We want to thank everyone here from Rhody Sports Properties that make it all happen for us behind the scenes all season long. I want to thank our SIDs as well, Michaela and Meg, who made it out. Thanks to everyone else who's here. Thanks to Andrew, our producer, as well. And thanks to George McAuliffe here at the Mews. And another great Tammi Reiss Coaches show in the books. You've been listening to the Tammi Reiss Coaches show, powered by the Mews Tavern. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening.
This has been the Tammi Reiss Show. Tonight's show has been brought to you by People's Credit Union, the official partner of URI Women's Athletics. Dunkin' Donuts, sip the Rhody way. Rhode Island Medical Imaging, the official medical imaging company of URI Athletics. Newport Propane, Rhode Island's #1 choice for all your propane needs. Ortho Rhode Island, the official orthopedic and sports medicine provider for URI Athletics. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Rhody Sports Network.